Maya Lewis was 23, working double shifts at a rundown diner on the edge of Atlanta. She used to tell people, "This is just temporary." But 3 years later, nothing had changed. Every morning she'd wake before the sun even thought about rising, walk 3 miles to work, and spend the next 10 hours smiling at people who barely looked her way. You ever have those days where you feel like you're stuck in the same loop? Same faces, same words, same fake smile? That was Maya's life. Her mom's medical bills kept piling up. Her paychecks disappeared before the month was over. And with each passing day, her dreams got a little quieter. But late at night, when the diner finally went still, when the neon lights hummed and everyone else had gone home, Maya would sit at her favorite corner booth, table 7. That was her little escape. She'd pull out a worn notebook and start sketching. Logos, cup designs, little ideas for a coffee brand she swore she'd build one day. She called it Rise Brew, because that's all she ever wanted, to rise above the life that tried to keep her small. And in that empty diner, surrounded by the smell of burnt coffee and broken dreams, a spark was quietly being born. The kind of spark that could burn down an empire someday. That night, everything changed. A group of men walked into the diner, loud, confident, the kind of people who thought the world spun just for them. And among them was Ethan Blake, a young tech investor with more money than manners and an ego big enough to need its own chair. He ordered a black coffee, looked Maya straight in the eye, and said, "You should smile more, sweetheart. Tips come faster that way." Maya didn't flinch. She'd heard worse. She just smiled, the kind of smile that hides 1,000 things you'll never say, and kept pouring coffee. But then, she made the mistake of sharing a piece of her dream. She mentioned she was saving up to start her own cafe someday. Ethan laughed. Not the kind of laugh that comes from surprise, the kind that cuts. He looked her up and down and said, "Start a business? You can't even afford a decent uniform." Imagine hearing that after working 16 hours straight, after scraping coins together just to keep your mom's lights on. When the men finally left, Maya walked to the table to clean up, and there it was, a single dollar bill. But this one had a message. Scrawled across it were 5 words. "For your billionaire fantasy." She just stood there, staring at it, the laughter from that table still echoing in her head. Most people would have thrown it away, cried, cursed, broken down. But Maya folded that dollar, slipped it into her pocket, and whispered to herself, "One day you'll regret that." That was the night her story truly began. Not with a win, but with a wound. For weeks, she tried to forget that night, tried to tell herself it was just another insult, one of many. Because when you've been looked down on long enough, you start to believe maybe you deserve it. But every time she reached into her apron and felt that crumpled dollar bill, something inside her burned. It wasn't just anger. It was a quiet, heavy fire, the kind that doesn't fade with time. She wanted revenge. Not the kind you see in movies. No screaming, no violence. She wanted the kind that came dressed in success. The kind that made people choke on their own arrogance. But then came the fear. That voice in her head whispering, "Who do you think you are? You're just a waitress. You can't fight a millionaire." And for a while, she believed it. She almost gave up. Then one evening, The manager called her in. Didn't even look her in the eye when he said it. "We're letting you go, Maya. Found someone younger, cheaper." That was it. No warning, no thank you, just replaced. Most people would have cried, begged, pleaded for one more chance. But Maya? She didn't say a word. She untied her apron, folded it neatly on the counter, and walked out the door without looking back. Because deep down, she knew sometimes losing everything is the first step to getting it all. That night was her breaking point and her rebirth. She stood under the rain, clutching that $1 bill, the same one meant to mock her. But instead of breaking her, it became her promise. She sold her phone the next morning, used the cash to buy a beat-up old laptop, and with nothing but borrowed Wi-Fi and stubborn hope, she started learning. Business, branding, coffee sourcing, anything she could find. While most people slept, Maya stayed up till 3 in the morning, watching tutorials, scribbling notes, dreaming out loud to no one. By day, she scrubbed floors and emptied trash cans in office buildings. By night, she built her dream one click, one lesson, one sleepless hour at a time. And somewhere in those long, quiet hours, something inside her shifted. She looked at that crumpled dollar again and whispered, "If they won't give me a seat at the table, I'll build my own." That was the moment Rise Brew was born. A brand fueled by anger, hunger, and way too much caffeine. Because when the world tells you you're not invited, sometimes you just build your own damn table. At first, nobody cared. People walked past her tiny booth like she was invisible. Just another girl selling coffee in glass bottles, trying too hard to dream big. But Maya didn't stop. She couldn't. She reached out to an old friend, Nina, a barista who knew coffee like art. Together, they experimented in Maya's small kitchen, mixing beans, burning a few batches, laughing through failure after failure. And slowly, something started to change. The flavor, the story, the name. Rise Brew. It all began to click. They started posting online. One customer turned into 10. 10 turned into 50. People weren't just buying coffee anymore. They were buying hope. And just when things started to look promising, he showed up. Ethan, the man who once left that dollar on her table. He saw her at a local business expo, surrounded by a few modest banners and a flickering Rise Brew sign. He smirked, that same arrogant smile that once made her doubt herself. "Well, well," he said, "you again? Still chasing your billionaire fantasy?" For a second, it almost stung. Almost. But not this time. Maya looked him dead in the eye and said, "You'll see me again, but not like this." Ethan chuckled, the kind of laugh that underestimates people. Then turned away, saying softly, "We'll see." He had no idea. He'd just spoken to the woman who was about to change the entire game. A few weeks later, Ethan reached out. His tone was different this time. Polite, smooth, even charming. He said he was impressed by how far she'd come, that he saw potential in Rise Brew. And for a moment, Maya wanted to believe him. Because funding was tight, bills were stacking, and she was tired of fighting the world alone. So when he offered to mentor her, to invest, to help her grow, she said yes. Maybe he'd changed. Maybe this was her chance. They met in his shiny office, all glass and marble. He smiled, shook her hand, told her she had real talent. She smiled back, nervous, hopeful, and she trusted him. She shared everything, her formula, her supplier list, even the tagline she spent months perfecting. He promised he'd get back to her soon. Then came the silence. Days turned into weeks. No calls, no replies, nothing. Until one morning, Maya turned on the TV, and there it was. A new product launch. Morning Gold Coffee. Her exact recipe. Same bottle shape, same slogan, just a different name. His name. She froze. The mug in her hand slipped and shattered against the floor. Her heart felt like it followed. He stole everything. When she finally confronted him, Ethan didn't even blink. He just smirked and said, "Business is business, sweetheart. No guilt, no shame, just ego." Maya didn't respond. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just turned around and walked away. But her hand clenched around that same crumpled dollar bill, the one that started it all. Because this time, she wasn't walking away defeated. She was walking away ready. She sat there in that tiny apartment, surrounded by unpaid bills and broken hope. The silence was heavy, almost mocking. And then she caught her reflection in the window. She looked tired, beaten, small. But behind those eyes, something was still alive, something burning. She took a deep breath and whispered, "You wanted a monster? Fine. I'll be one. No more playing nice. No more waiting for someone's approval." That night, something inside her snapped, and something new was born. Everything fell apart. Her dream gone. Her brand stolen. Her savings wiped out. Even her mother's health was slipping. It felt like the world had finally broken her. For the first time, Maya thought about quitting. What was the point of fighting anymore? Every time she tried to rise, someone stronger, richer, colder pushed her back down. She sat there in that tiny apartment, surrounded by unpaid bills and broken hope. The silence was heavy, almost mocking. And then she caught her reflection in the window. She looked tired, beaten, small, but behind those eyes, something was still alive. Something burning. She took a deep breath and whispered, "You wanted a monster? Fine. I'll be one. No more playing nice. No more waiting for someone's approval." That night, something inside her snapped, and something new was born. Maya disappeared for a while. Not to hide, but to rebuild. While the world moved on, she spent endless nights buried in books and online courses, learning everything Ethan used against her. Business, contracts, branding laws, every loophole, every trick. She was quiet, but dangerous now. Month by month, she pieced herself back together, met with small investors who believed in her, reconnected with local farmers who still trusted her vision. And when she finally returned, she came back with fire. A new name, a new purpose. Phoenix Roast. This time, she wasn't selling coffee. She was selling a story. Her story. A story of betrayal, rebirth, and revenge served hot. Her campaign was raw, unapologetic, and real. She didn't hide the pain. She turned it into power. And people felt that. They lined up, holding her cups like a symbol of defiance. Because this time, it wasn't just coffee in their hands. It was proof that you can't burn someone who's already learned how to rise from ashes. One morning, an email popped into Maya's inbox. At first, she almost ignored it, but the subject line made her freeze. Morning Gold Coffee, assets for sale. She opened it, her hands trembled. The company that stole her dream was falling apart. Lawsuits, debts, chaos. And the man behind it all? Ethan Blake. Life has a strange sense of humor, doesn't it? Without a second thought, Maya made the call. She didn't ask for a meeting. She didn't negotiate. She bought the company. Outright. Cash. Clean. Final. A week later, she walked into that same glass office where he once laughed at her. The receptionist didn't recognize her. Ethan did. He looked up, face pale, eyes wide. For a moment, he couldn't even speak. Maya smiled softly. The kind of smile that holds years of quiet pain and earned power. She placed a small, worn dollar bill on his desk, the same one he left her all those years ago. "Consider this," she said, "your final tip." Then she turned around, calm, collected, and walked out, her heels echoing through the marble like thunder after a storm. And as the door closed behind her, Ethan just sat there, staring at that dollar. The same dollar that once made him laugh, now made him crumble. Today, Maya Lewis stands on a stage, calm, confident, and radiant. Her voice carries the kind of strength that only comes from surviving everything meant to break you. She isn't just the founder of Phoenix Global anymore. She's one of the youngest self-made billionaires in America. Her company now owns several successful brands, including the very diner where she once poured coffee for a $1 tip. Full circle. But Maya didn't stop there. She hired single mothers who needed a second chance. She funded scholarships for women who dared to dream, just like she once did. She built something far bigger than revenge. She built legacy. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't payback. It's peace. It's success that speaks louder than any insult ever could. Once upon a time, they laughed at the broke waitress with big dreams. Now, they quote her in business magazines. They left her a $1 tip, and she used it to build an empire. Because in the end, the quietest revenge is success that can't be ignored. Revengeverse, where pain becomes power. They say revenge is best served cold, but for her, revenge came with cream and sugar. This is the story of Maya Lewis. Once, just a broke waitress, invisible, overworked, humiliated for dreaming too high. You know that kind of humiliation that burns quietly inside you? The kind that doesn't break you. It just waits until the right moment. Years later, that same woman walked into a room full of powerful men, not to serve them coffee, but to buy the company of the man who once left her a $1 tip. Funny how life works, isn't it? One moment, you're wiping tables for people who don't even look you in the eye. And the next, those same people are standing when you walk in. But Maya's story, it wasn't built overnight. It was built through betrayal, heartbreak, a kind of fire that refused to die, no matter how hard life tried to drown it. Because sometimes pain doesn't destroy you. Sometimes it creates you. And this is how pain becomes power.